We're going to spend some time talking about the future of AI. I help businesses around the world to plan for what's coming next, so we're not all surprised. You've already heard a bit about me. This is the why you should listen to Steve slide. Oh, and my microphone's going in and out. That's not good. So yes, I've spent a lot of time as a futurist, both working at Intel. I'm trained as an engineer, but I spent a lot of time in the business, working in businesses, managing businesses. And I'm in awe of what you do and what you make possible. Small businesses are the backbone of the American economy, and you make that possible for many thousands of people. So thank you for everything that you do. I'm really glad to be here, and I hope that I can help you with what I'm talking about today. Yeah, I've worked with lots of people. There we go. What I'm going to tell you today, and hopefully bring to life for you, is that I think we will see potentially more change in the next 5 years, more technologically driven change than in the last 50. For those of you who are old enough to remember, the movies that were in the charts 50 years ago were Jaws and The Towering Inferno. 50 years is a long time. We may see more technologically driven change in the next 5 years than the last 50. Now, why do I think things are going to change so dramatically? I think we are about to see the dawning of a new industrial era. Now, there are two things that can define an industrial era: a new material, think Bronze Age, Stone Age, and so on. But usually, and particularly more recently, it's been a general purpose technology. So think of electricity. It's lighting this stage right now, this PowerPoint presentation. I have an electric car. Right? You can use electricity to do lots of different things. What defines an industrial era is when the cost of a general purpose technology heads down towards zero. It doesn't get to zero, but it gets to the point where you don't really care too much about the cost of using it. What we're about to see is the emergence of the cognitive revolution, where the cost of powerful, capable intelligence heads down towards zero. Think what you can do in your businesses if you could have intelligence on demand in as much supply as you needed, and the cost of that was negligible. That's what's going to change everything about everything. In the first few eras, sort of phases of the Industrial Revolution, we spent time building mechanical muscles, building machines to do physical work for us, to stand in for human stamina and strength. What we're building now is mechanical minds, electrical minds that will complement our intelligence and work alongside us to help us get things done. Now, as a futurist, sometimes you have to look back at the past to become inspired about what might happen next in the future. So when I think about what might be coming next, I'm always looking backward to see, okay, what can we see in the past to help us frame what's coming next? If you think about the last 25 years, the technology or group of technologies that has most shaped the way that we all work and live our lives is the internet. But it's not like, back in 1998, you could get a URL. I got a .com. Check. I have done the internet. Right? There was a little bit more to it than that. And there were waves of technology that came, and you had to learn how to surf each one. So when e-commerce came, if you're shipping product, you had to figure out fulfillment. You had to figure out digital payments, digital marketing with social media and dealing with reviews. The cloud came, and suddenly all the software, we used to get software on CDs and in boxes, remember that? Suddenly now it's all in the cloud and constantly updating. You can store lots of information in the cloud. Then the mobile came, and you had to figure out how do you reach people with the devices in their pockets and purses? How do you enable people in the field? By giving them a mobile device. And now we're figuring out what's the role of Web3 in the businesses of the future. So over 25 years, you've seen many of these waves. Artificial intelligence is no different. Artificial intelligence is not a monolithic technology. It is a set of technologies, and we're going to have waves and waves of innovation that hit us over time. It started out in the 1980s and 90s with expert systems. These were not really that intelligent. What we were trying to do with those was hand code rules. So hand coding human intelligence. Didn't work out very well because it's not very scalable. The big breakthrough was machine learning, which is machines that can learn from being given examples. They can find patterns in data and infer their own rules. So you're able to build and scale systems much more quickly. That led us to things like perception AI, so machine vision capabilities and natural language processing. Alexa, close the blinds. Now we're in the generative AI era, and that sort of kicked off in most people's consciousness when ChatGPT hit the market back in November of 2022. Where we are now, we're in the reasoning AI era. We'll talk about that in about 15 minutes from now. And then I'll also talk about the waves that are coming next. So the waves that are going to shape your businesses. Agentic AI, spatial AI, and then we'll finish up with some robots because, you know, we're talking about the future. My job in the next 50 minutes or so is to get you ready so you can surf each of these waves as they come all of our way. Because this stuff is coming at us all, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. So here's the plan. I'm going to talk to you about AI today. I'm guessing some people in the audience here have some level of understanding of AI today and what it can do, some less so. So I'll just sort of ground us all in what AI can do today. Then I'll tell you where we're going next. What's the trajectory that we're on, and it is happening faster than any of us thought it might. And then finally wrap up with some next steps. What should you be doing to engage and participate in this era so you don't get left behind, both for your business and for you personally? Now, as we go through these slides, there's going to be some QR codes up on the screen. They link to apps and software platforms you might find interesting. I don't share my slides either. So if there's something you see on the screen, you're welcome to take pictures, post them on social media. If it's just something you want to remember and stick it in notes, you're welcome to do that. So let's jump in and talk about AI today. This is the most technical we're going to get today. So there are two main flavors of AI. There's what I would call classic AI, traditional neural networks. And they're also, the term of art in the industry is discriminative AI. It doesn't mean they discriminate against people. It means that they can sort data into groups, discriminating one group, another group. Also known as predictive AIs. And these AIs have been around for a long time. They've been used in American businesses for 15 years or so. What's got everybody's attention is the new flavor, which is generative AI, based on large language models, multimodal large language models, which means they understand language, but they also understand images and videos and that sort of thing. That's what makes them multimodal. I'll explain more about those in a moment. But for now, let's just focus on classic AI. Been around 15 years, you use it every single day, multiple times a day, perhaps without even knowing it. So the types of applications: spam filtering, every time you open your inbox, AI is in the background taking care of things for you. Machine vision, handwriting recognition, speech recognition, facial recognition, all of those types of things. So it's used for finding patterns in oceans of data. Humans are quite good at finding patterns, but when there's a lot of data, it's really hard for us to see them. So for AIs, that's easy, because they're able to scale what they can do. So think about underwriting. Human underwriters look for patterns in data. Is somebody going to be a good loan or not? Are they going to be a good risk for a loan? Sometimes AI, when it's deployed in that way, will find patterns in the data for people who a human underwriter would reject. But the AI will know and see that pattern and say, oh no, that person is still a good risk for us to take. So people who are underwriting in this business and using AI are able to find low-risk people that other people wouldn't touch, which is good for those people, but also it's good business for them. Just for finding patterns in data. So let me give you some examples of the types of things you can do with this classic AI. I mentioned spam. What AI is good at doing is what's called classification. Spam, not spam. And the way it does that is it's been trained with millions of examples of spam and not spam. And it's able to recognize, and mostly, whoop, that's my clicker. Would you be kind enough to throw that back up to me? What a nice guy. Thank you, Matthew. A round of applause for Matthew. Bit of audience participation there. I'll try and throw it to somebody else this time. Right. So it's classifying spam or not spam. And you can use it to do all sorts of classification tasks. Regression, it's a very weird word. It's a way of saying you're going to, instead of sorting into groups, you're trying to find an ultimate number. So for example, you might have data that says the location of a home, how many bedrooms it has, how many bathrooms it has, does it have a garage, is it a double garage, all that data. And the AI will estimate, based on all the other pricing data it has, what the correct value of that home is. So regression gets you to a number based on data points. Then there's clustering. Every time you use Amazon or Walmart online and you get that recommendation that says, people who enjoyed these products also liked, that's clustering in the background. It's saying, people who enjoyed these things also will enjoy these things. Same as happening with Netflix and Hulu and all those other apps. And then there's prediction. All AI is ultimately just making predictions. It's making predictions that this is probably spam, this is probably not spam. So you can use AI to also make predictions for future demand. You can make predictions over whether a customer is at high risk of churn or not, based on observing their behaviors. So you can use AI to do all kinds of prediction tasks in your business. So let's give you a few examples. I'm a visual person. I want to show you some visual things. I need to be careful because you've all just eaten and we're in a windowless room, but here's an AI counting sheep, just doing simple object recognition. This is a slightly more complicated one. This is used in logistics and warehousing environments from a company called Voxel. And what the AI is doing here, it's not just looking for a person in an image. It's looking for naughty behavior. People who aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So you can see there's someone not wearing their harness correctly, someone that's driving their forklift like an idiot. There's cleanup on aisle 3. So you're looking for potential safety issues where you might want to intervene and hopefully avoid a workers' comp claim or just keep your workforce safe. And by the way, people that have implemented these types of technologies, they've seen their workers' comp claims and injuries drop by over 60%. So AI is a great way to get eyes on your business and intervene when there's an event. So you're looking for particular events you can intervene on. Here's an example of AI being used to optimize things. And there's a class of AIs which is just great at optimizing the operations of your business. This one I thought might be interesting to some of you. It's a company called Routific. It's used by FedEx. And in the Central Valley in California, FedEx used to roll 20 ground trucks, FedEx ground trucks. Once they implemented this Routific software, which looked at where the deliveries needed to be and it optimized the routes for those, what they were able to do was take 5 of those trucks off the road and save 17% in their costs. So it's pretty impressive what you can do with these types of AI optimizations. Here's another optimization. This is a fun company called Tastery. Full disclosure, I was so impressed with them that I actually invested, and I'm meeting the CEO for dinner tonight in New York. What they do is they help the wine industry, actually the wine and beverage industry, to build the ultimate blends. So if you go and buy a bottle of Veuve Clicquot, it's blended from different vintages of champagne over the years. To get that consistency, it takes people figuring out how to blend things to try and give you a consistent flavor year after year. This AI it's a chemistry lab combined with an AI, and it is able to help people blend the optimal flavor profile from all the different barrels of wine. It also has data on taste profiles. They checked the taste profiles of 100,000 people across America. And they were able to extrapolate that, and they know with precision now, based on a lab test of a wine or a spirit or a ready-to-go drink, which palate in America, which parts of the country are going to be most receptive to that drink. And it even helps with targeting the marketing at the right people. If you go into some Total Wines, you can actually take a test with this, and it will guide you to a bottle of wine that you are going to like based on the taste buds in your mouth, which is pretty cool. So anyway, just an example. You can use AI for doing all kinds of optimizations in all kinds of industries. So that's all the classic AI. This has been around for 10, 15 years. What's new and sexy now is generative AI. And generative AI, it uses a new technology at its core of a large language model called a transformer. It was invented by Google back in 2017. Think of it as a translator that can translate between different domains. So you can put text in and get an image out. Put a video in and get a text description out. Put a question in and get an answer out. Put English language in, get French out, or Spanish, or Chinese. So you can sort of translate between domains using these large language models. And you can use it for all kinds of things. And I'm going to show you a video to bring a lot of these to life for you in a few minutes. But this is what's got everybody's attention, and this is the base upon which more value is now going to be built. Let me give you a few examples of generative AI in action. I love shoes. I have a shoe problem. Anybody else here with a shoe problem? Yes, okay. Interesting, a lot of men put their hand up there. Usually it's the women who think they have a problem. No, men, we're bad too. Discount Shoe Warehouse, kid in a candy store. They have many SKUs, and to write a description for each of those SKUs used to take a lot of time. Now they put a few images of the shoe into an AI, and it writes the description for them. So when you go to the website and read those descriptions, they were written by AI. Here's a fun example. This is a technology called generative design. What you're seeing here, that weird green structure you see, that's the internal skeleton of the bulkhead of an A320 aircraft. Now, weight matters on a plane. United Airlines figured out that if every one of their passengers took Ozempic and lost 10 pounds, it would save them $80 million a year in fuel. There is a reason they give you give you pretzels now and not peanuts. It's not because we love the peanut people and don't want them to die, although that is a good reason. It is because pretzels weigh less than peanuts. Weight matters on a plane. So those bulkheads, they're not just there to divide the plane up, they're actually there to hold the plane together. There's a really important structural function. So they're bolted to the top and bottom of the fuselage, and they hold the cylinder together. So they have to be able to handle all sorts of tensile strength, but they also want to optimize for weight and cost. So what you're seeing here, that really weird structure, that's not something you can imagine a human would design on their own, right? Neither is it a design that an AI came up with. It is a collaboration between a human designer and an AI working together. The way it works is the human designer comes up with the initial design, the AI riffs on it, comes up with literally thousands of alternatives, and then comes back to the designer and says, if you changed it this way, it will maximize for the design parameters that you gave me. So when you next ride on an A320, the bulkhead was co-designed between a human and a machine. Now, I tell you this long story because that should be the goal in your businesses. How can you find ways to pair humans with machines to get to a better result than either of them could get to alone? If you can do that, you're going to win in the marketplace and you're going to grow your business. AI is going to change everything about everything that we do. It will change everything about the way you do business. It will change the way you live your lives. It will change the way we communicate with each other, change the way we educate our kids. So in the next 40 minutes, I want to explain to you, build you a picture of what that future looks like. I'm not going to go into details of what's the latest AI trading platform or what might be a new financial strategy based on it. I'm just going to give you the big picture on where the world is going in the next 5 years. So buckle up. So Jay gave you the introduction. This is the why should I listen to Steve slide. You already heard a little bit about me. I worked at Intel for many years, started with a good head of hair. And most recently, I worked for Google DeepMind. DeepMind is Google's AI research lab based in London. I live in Portland, Oregon, despite my outrageous British accent. I've lived in America for 28 years or so. And at both Intel and DeepMind, I was a futurist. And my job as a futurist is to imagine what does the world look like a few years from now, and what are the things that we're going to build to help shape that world. It's not just me who thinks the world is going to change. Futurist Ray Kurzweil says, during the next decade, humanity will make a century's worth of progress. A century's worth of progress. Think about where the world was in 1925. Flapper dresses and cars that looked very different than what we have today. The world is going to change rapidly. Now, why is that the case? In the first few phases of the Industrial Revolution, we focused on building mechanical muscles to extend human strength, stamina, and build machines that help to do physical work for us. And you see pictures of some of them on the slide here. What we're in the process of now doing in this next phase of the Industrial Revolution is to build mechanical minds. Mechanical minds that will support us in doing knowledge work and in some cases take on that knowledge work. So we're entering into a new technological era, a new industrial era. And what defines industrial era is when a general purpose technology, like electricity, I have an electric car, there's a PowerPoint presentation running on electricity, it's probably heated in this room with electric power, there are lights shining on me that are electric. A general purpose technology, the cost of that general purpose technology heads down towards zero. We're about to enter an era where the cost of powerful, capable intelligence heads down towards zero, where workers will work for electrons rather than dollars. And that changes everything. Now, as a futurist, I'm used to looking forward. And one of the ways you look forward is you take inspiration from the past. So if you think about what we went through in the last 25 years or so with the internet, it wasn't like in 1999 you could just say, okay, we've got a .com, check, we've done the internet. There were many things that businesses had to do after that as waves of innovation and change came about. If you were a product company, you had to figure out e-commerce and fulfillment and warehouses and how you took orders and payments. Then came social media. You had to respond to reviews and figure out digital marketing strategies online. The cloud came and suddenly you bought software online rather than a box. Mobile came. You had to figure out how to reach your customers through mobile apps. There's just been waves of change that businesses have had to adapt to over about a 25-year period. It won't be any different with AI. It's not like you can check, I figured out ChatGPT, I'm done. There are going to be waves of change through this intelligence build-out. We had expert systems in the 90s where AI was encoded with rules that humans made up. Machine learning then figured out how to infer rules from data. Generative AI got everyone excited with ChatGPT back in November. And now we're moving into the next phases. I'm going to talk about the next 3 phases in the rest of this talk, which is agentic AI, spatial AI, and physical AI beyond that. There are more phases beyond that, but in the scope of today, I'm going to focus on those 3. And your role, all of our role, everybody on the planet's role, is to learn how to surf every one of those waves so that you're ready. And that's what my goal today is, to help you be ready for these waves when they come crashing into shore. So here's what I'm going to talk about. I'll do a quick review of where AI is today, then take you on what's the future trajectory. I'm a future boy. I better take you into the future. And then we'll think about what does it all mean for us. So let's start with AI today. AI has been around for a while. This is not, my dance card is full at the moment. Everybody wants to hear about AI like it's a new thing. We've had AI in our lives for 10, 15 years, often not knowing it. It's what filters your spam for you. It's behind credit checks. You might use it when you are optimizing your portfolio, pricing an asset, running analytics, doing underwriting of a loan. All of these things are using AI under the hood. And you can think about that as sort of classic AI. It's finding patterns and clusters in data. When you use Netflix, it's what recommends, these are the movies you probably want to watch. These are the shows you're probably not that interested in. That is AI clustering and organizing data. And some examples of AI. This is an AI that counts sheep. I know we're in a darkened room. I shouldn't show you this too long. I don't want you to get sleepy. But simple example, AI that counts sheep. This is a slightly more sophisticated AI. It's looking for naughty behavior in a warehouse. People who are behaving irresponsibly and not using safety. And then you have AIs, much like the one that makes recommendations in Netflix, that can optimize data, in this case, optimizing the routes of trucks. FedEx in the Central Valley in California used this routific AI, and it cut the number of trucks they needed by 5. They used 5 less trucks. So they used to have 20, now they have 15. So these are the types of AIs that have been around for quite a while. What's now taking hold is this notion of generative AI. Instead of sorting and organizing data, now you're creating and generating new data from an old data set. And that's what's ChatGPT, the image creators, video creators, and so on. There are lots of examples that we're starting to all get familiar with about what you can generate. The big tech companies believe this is the future. Just this year, these 5 companies, these 5 major tech companies, between them in AI infrastructure, they've invested will invest $320 billion. So that's where we're at today. Where are we going next? Let's start with agentic AI. This is the flavor of 2025, and 2025 is when you're going to see agents start to show up, and then I think they'll deploy broadly in 2026 and 2027. So what is an AI agent? An AI agent is an AI that is able to not only have action, it has agency, but it is able to reason and think its way through a problem. The great book, Thinking Fast and Slow, describes 2 thinking systems in our brains. The first is system 1. If I ask you, what's 2 plus 2? You're in finance, you should know. You don't know. The answer is 4, okay? But we know that reflexively, right? It's just a reflexive recall. That's system 1 thinking. It turns out ChatGPT, it seems amazing, but it's all reflexive recall thinking. It's system 1 thinking. What's been missing until recently is system 2 thinking. If I ask you how many golf balls would fit inside a Toyota Camry, you have to think through that. Size of a golf ball, rough volume. Okay, you can sort of reason your way through it. AIs are now gaining this reasoning ability, and that's a foundation. You think of large language models like ChatGPT, add reasoning over the top. The next layer is to give that model agency, and that's when you get agentic AI, an agent. And what that looks like is a core agent, which has the ability to reason, to take a complex task, and then break it down into subtasks, plan how to achieve that goal, and then go and execute on it. It executes using a set of tools. There's an emerging standard for that called MCP. And then it takes input as well. So it has sensor input. If it's a robot, it's going to have machine vision. If it's a sensor working on your laptop, it's going to have a view of your screen and perhaps be able to operate your browser and do things on your behalf. So that's what an agent is. I think we're moving to a world where we could see 1 trillion agents. Agents that have the ability to reason, to remember, to learn our preferences, to improve over time by learning what they did wrong so they can get it right next time. And some of them will even operate in swarms, working together on our behalf. A swarm sounds a bit like bees, but it's just a term of art in the industry. So imagine agents roaming around your corporate network looking for intrusions. So keeping you safe from cyber attacks. Imagine agents watching over a public space, watching every single video camera to look for suspicious behavior, perhaps someone trying to attack. And you see agents working together, perhaps in a marketing situation, where you might say, hey, I need a new campaign to market my new product and launch it. Here's the parameters, go. The agent will then go and create other agents, one that does the the visuals, one that does the broadcast strategy, one that does the social media strategy, one that comes up with the finance plan. And then it comes all back to you, presents the whole plan to you, and maybe that takes 10 minutes. So we're moving into a world of 1 trillion AI agents. And there'll be all different types and flavors of agents. Agents that teach us things, agents that help monitor our health, agents that help us to research things at work, ones that work in the background to optimize traffic flow, to maintain inventory levels, to fast trade stocks. So you can imagine high-frequency trading agents. So there are lots of different ways these agents are going to show up in our lives. I think there are going to be 3 primary flavors. Initial agents are going to be focused on offload, taking the work that we don't want to do and taking those tasks on for us, kind of taking the suck out of our jobs, is the way I heard one person describe it. As they mature, I think you'll then get agents that are designed to work much more closely with us. Instead of offloading tasks, they're partnering with us to elevate our performance. When I say performance, not productivity. Elevating our performance means productivity, efficiency, creativity, intuition, decision-making ability, wisdom, knowledge, all of it. So making us into superhuman people. And then there'll be AIs that will extend, agents that work closely with us and extend our abilities, giving us the ability to sense new things, to make decisions in different ways, and perhaps even mitigating the weaknesses that we might have. Now, the way these digital workers are going to show up is they're going to feel like super smart, PhD level, but really naive interns that occasionally make mistakes. So we're going to have to oversee them, but they're going to work for us. And they're going to be able to do deep research, to explore the web, pull information together. They'll be able to handle quite complex tasks. And they'll be able to use a browser to do things on our behalf. Now, initially, it'll be a text interface, then it'll quickly move to voice, and then ultimately, there'll be a 3D avatar that you can talk to. It'll feel like just talking to somebody on a Zoom call. So that is what your very near future holds. We'll give you a few examples of what's already available. OpenAI has a product called Deep Research. It's aimed at the finance, policymakers, science and engineering sectors. It's able to use a web browser. It can do multi-step research. You give it a quite complex task. It will break it down, find all the parts, summarize the information, and bring it back to you. Find the 10Ks from all of these companies, pull this information together, present it to me in this way, and it will go do it. At the moment, it can output text, images in a PDF form. What's coming next is visualizations and graphics. So all kinds of opportunities for doing research and offloading that task and making things go quicker for you. Give you another example. This is from Stanford University. They've been creating what they call a virtual lab. A human scientist, we've still got human scientists, they spawn these AIs, they create one that's a principal investigator. And in this case, they wanted to investigate, try and understand how the COVID virus might evolve over time. So they went to this AI and said, okay, assemble your team. It's like Avengers. Assemble. And they asked it, what 3 characteristics, what 3 people would you want to assemble? And it said, I want to assemble an immunologist, a machine learning specialist, and a computational biologist. So it created those 3 AIs, just basically a chat GPT, but they told it, you are an immunologist and have all the knowledge of an immunologist. They had all of these work together and basically have meetings and debate, and they came back with quite useful insights that were useful to Stanford as they figured out where they want to go with their research. Google created a platform called Co-Scientist. The scientists that used it at University College London, or I think it was Imperial College actually, they had been researching superbugs and how they are able to defy antibiotics in hospitals. Their theory was that they grow into strings, basically grow long tails. And that helps them evade all of the cleaning protocols. When they gave this AI 2 days to think through this problem, it came up with the same hypothesis that had taken them 10 years to reach. So that's agents. And they're going to change everything about work, and they're coming to a workplace near you soon.